Hi, I'm Daniel Legis, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my feature author of the month of December, award winning author, no other than Miss Kat Rambo.
Hello.
Welcome back, Miss Cat, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
I will. I am a science fiction and fantasy writer. I am based in the United States, currently living in Indiana. I have my most recent book that has been out is a space opera called Rumor Has It. And we're going to talk today about the book that I actually won a Nebula Award for, which I will show. People can see. Can people see this, Daniel?
Yes,
Okay.
they are.
There, as you can see, it's very sparkly and it's very heavy. It's made out of lucite. I believe it could serve to bludgeon someone to death if I needed to, which hopefully I don't.
Miss Cat Rambo, congratulations and thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So let's talk about your award winning piece. What is the central theme of Carpe Glitter?
So, Carpe Glitter is a story about sort of family heritage. And the title, Carpe Glitter, is the saying, uh, seize the glitter instead of seize the day, which was the saying of this young woman's grandmother. And the grandmother was a stage magician back in World War II who worked in Las Vegas and performed with all sorts of people. And when she dies, the granddaughter goes to Las Vegas, where the grandmother has been living, and discovers that the grandmother has been a hoarder. And there's just has not just one, but three houses worth of stuff and just weird. A lot of it related to her history, but others of it just kind of like weird stuff. And in the process of going through it, she starts discovering strange artifacts which turn out to be tied into her family history. And her mother then shows up trying to get at the artifacts, and a whole bunch of family history boils up and leads to adventure.
Yes, interesting. So, what is the protagonist of the story and what is their main goal?
She is, oh my gosh, I'm trying to, her name is Anola. I can't remember her last, no, her name is Emma Aim, if I'm remembering correctly. And she's kind of she's a younger woman. She's graduated from college and she isn't quite sure what she wants to do with her life. So this invitation to come clear out her grandmother's estate comes at is what kind of a good time for her. Although of course she's sad about her grandmother because she was very close to her grandmother. She would and uh, that's why the grandmother has left her basically everything.
Interesting. So, how does the title Carpe Glitter relate to the plot or themes of the story?
Okay. So carpe glitter, to seize the glitter, is this idea of kind of grabbing the gusto while you can, which has been the grandmother's theme all her life. And one of the problems that her granddaughter has is that she hasn't been as good at sort of living life or grabbing the glitter, grabbing life as her grandmother would have wanted. So the book is in part about her learning how to do that.
So, what role does family legacy play in the narrative?
Um, well, there is this sort of the physical objects which turn out to be very intimately involved with the family, but there's also the idea of kind of family psychological hand me downs that because the grandmother is kind of abusive to the mother, and then the mother is kind of abusive to the granddaughter in turn. And so she's dealing not just with this sort of physical legacy, which is kind of overwhelming. I mean, there's just so much stuff. There's three houses worth of stuff, and it's just, and most, it turns out most of it is not valuable at all. And then it's also her dealing with a legacy of kind of abuse, kind of handed on uh, through the generations.
So, how is magic portrayed in the story?
Oh, magic is, it's it's done in the way that I like to slide magic into contemporary fantasy, uh, where it's not anything showy or flashy, but there's a kind of hidden underside to the world, which you kind of access through magic logic, which is very close to dream logic. Um, and I've written a number of stories, kind of in with this sort of magic system. There's one where a magician's main way of casting magic is through using Hawaiian shirts. So this is that same sort of universe. What though the daughter or the granddaughter discovers is basically an attempt to use magic in World War II. That the grandmother, who was also, it turns out, a spy, not just a stage magician, but has kind of escaped with some technology, or and it's sort of magical technology. And I don't want to give away too much about what that
Yes.
technology is.
Spoilers.
That's it.
Okay, so what are the main conflicts
What are the
the
main conflicts?
protagonist faces?
Yeah, well, certainly there is a huge conflict with the mother who shows up and wants some of the things that the granddaughter has discovered, and who feels that she's entitled to them, even though they were not left to her. There's also two FBI agents that show up that are in search of kind of the war technology, which they've sort of tracked down to, they think the grandmother had it. Um, and I'm trying to think there's any other big. Oh, then there's also a sort of an uncle slash father figure who may be on the granddaughter's side, maybe not. And so that would be another sort of sub conflict.
How does the setting enhance the magical and mysterious atmosphere of the story?
Oh, I set it in Las Vegas, which to me is such a kind of like weirdly wonderful city. Um,
Yes.
it's one of my favorite books called Last Call, I believe it is, by Tim Powers, is set in Vegas. And it's a Vegas in, I want to say in the 90s, but also kind of in the 50s as well. Um, and Vegas is just so surreal because when you're there, particularly when you're on the edges of Vegas, you become aware that this is a place that should not exist, that could not exist without technology, without humans kind of doing things in order to make it possible. Um, and so that's just sort of wild. It's also got a kind of strange atmosphere of excess and in luck, just like there's so many people that are there to gamble that you sort of imagine anything might happen, that you might have luck magicians there who are trying to harvest it, just like all sorts of cool stuff. So that's the setting is I think very suited to the theme.
Very well. Very well. Building, world building, Martina. So, Miss Kat, sorry for that. What are some key symbols used in the book and what do they represent?
Oh my God, we're getting down to the deep stuff. Okay,
Without
so
spoiler.
yeah, no spoilers. Well, one of them is the objects that she discovers, which are, I think, very symbolic of sort of family and family inheritance. Um, there's also a room full of dolls, some of which are actually dolls that were made of the grandmother when she was a stage magician, and the grandmother's not the grandmother's, it's a helper spirit ends up inside one of the dolls. And I think dolls are always so interesting in terms of being symbols of sort of being coded femininity, in terms of being very much about dolls are seen as objects. They're kind of often defined by their roles. So you have dolls that, like, particularly Barbie. Barbie does a lot of different things. Um, what else is a symbol? Cards are definitely a symbol that often come into play in the book, and I think they're symbolic of how twists luck can twist and turn. You can kind of be up on top one day and down on your luck the next.
Yes, definitely. So, how does the protagonist's relationship with the grandmother shape the story?
Um, it starts out by acknowledging that the grandmother wasn't the world's most pleasant woman, and because partially because she was very driven, and she had to be very driven in order to succeed. Um, but the grandmother loved the granddaughter very much in a way, and I think showed affection for her in a way that she could not sometimes for her own daughter, which caused problems with the generations. But at the same time, I think the protagonist says at one point, when you have somebody who just loves you more than anybody else in the world, it's kind of hard not to love them back quite a bit. And I know, um, for me, this reflects a lot of my own family dynamics. And my grandmother was not a stage magician, but she was not a very pleasant woman. But at the same time, she just doted on me, and I was the apple of her eye. And so I will always be kind of fond of her, while at the same time acknowledging that she really kind of was not very nice in many ways. Yeah.
So, Miss Cat, what role does discovery of hidden artifacts play in the plot?
Oh, as well, basically, as she discovers the hidden artifacts, it's like she's discovering more and more about the grandmother's past. So, kind of as she excavates the different layers, she discovers, for example, that the grandmother was a spy, discovers that the grandmother was really involved in magic, discovers that the grandmother trapped somebody's spirit in a jar at one point. Um, and so basically, with each different object, kind of learns more about the grandmother's history.
Interesting magic. Miss Cat, interesting. And how did you balance the elements of fantasy with real world issues?
Say it again.
How did you balance the elements of fantasy with the real world issues?
Oh, um, I think that I just let the fantasy appear where it wanted to in the story. It's hard when you're writing, when you're starting with kind of a cluttered house full of artifacts, not to have some of them start to become significant as you're writing. And often when I'm starting a story, I don't know where it's going to go in terms of direction. So, um, basically, I sort of let that stuff unfold as it came to me during the writing of it, if that makes sense.
Makes sense. Miss Cat, makes sense. So, what is the significance of glitter as a recurring motif in the story?
Glitter, I think, represents a sort of the stage life, that sort of that larger than life, that sort of presenting a uh, enormous presence, but it also is that gusto for life. It is that willingness to participate in life and not just sort of hole yourself up away from it, but to go out and experience things. So that's what glitter symbolizes in those two ways.
So, Miss Cat, how does the protagonist grow or change throughout the narrative?
She learns to seize the glitter. She learns to, in the course of dealing with her family heritage, learns not to wall herself away from the world, but to actually start doing things outside herself and not do what her grandmother did and just sort of have this house full of junk that had to be dealt with.
So, what is the tone of Carpe Glitter, and how does it shift during the key moments?
Oh, I think the tone is it's got a little bit of gentle humor, but it tends to go fairly dark um, because you're dealing with human emotions, and human emotions can get pretty ugly. And so I think there is a sort of glitter and darkness tone about it. It's not a particularly light book, although everything works out okay in the end.
Definitely. And how did you use the scripted language to bring a magical elements to life?
Um, I did a lot of it with just the description of the house and trying to make it as sort of weird and wonderful and full of random objects as I could. I thought about a visit I had paid to a friend's house a number of years ago where her parents collected. I don't know what they're called, but they're basically not just player pianos, but other like player guitars and player banjos and other sort of musical instruments that used to be in, I don't know, in like theater lobbies and stuff. And there was a just sort of overwhelmingness to sort of being in the wig of their house where they had all of these sort of wild musical instruments and player pianos. Um, and I tried to convey that sort of crowded, oh my gosh, you don't know which way to look because there's just something to look at in every direction sort of feel. And to let that sense of wonder uh, evoke the magic.
What role do secrets and revelation play in driving the story forward?
Oh, they move things along all the time. Every time a new object is discovered, there is a new secret that is revealed, and some new twist to the plot appears because the objects start to fit together into a thing, and that thing drives a lot of the later action of the story.
So, Miss Cat, are there any parallels between Carpe Glitter and other works of fantasy or magical realism?
I think that certainly the world that I'm working in Carpe Glitter is very much it's the world of, as I said, Tim Powers' Last Call, and James Blaylock's urban fantasies as well, where I, I don't know how to describe it. It's like almost sort of like gritty fantasy. And I know that sounds sort of weird for it to be both glittery and gritty, but I think there is a certain amount of grittiness underneath the glitter on this one.
Perfectly done, Miss Cat. So, what will be your advice for those aspiring writers out there want to be like yours?
Oh gosh. Um, well, I think just start writing and start sending stuff out. One of the things about I've learned as a teacher of writer writing is that when people are writing and thinking about writing, they're getting better. And as a teacher, I can kind of help speed up that process a little, but it's something that people can also do for themselves. Um, and it's also something that I still keep trying to get better. I still keep trying to learn new stuff. I was just at a workshop in New Mexico, and I've just been trying out one of the techniques I learned at that workshop from Donald Moss, which is to print out your manuscript. And then if it's, say, like 414 pages, which mine is, then you get basically you get a random number generator to generate all of the numbers between 1 and 414, but do it in a random order. And then you go through and you look at the book in that order, like that, each page 56 and then maybe page 327, because what you're doing is you're not falling prey to the flow of the book, which is very easy to do when you are editing, because you're reading along and you're like, oh, I love this story. And you go, zhoo, 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 and you're just sort of speeding through it. Whereas when you're kind of going at random pages like this, it really makes you slow down and look at the page and say, okay, is this an interesting page? Is it doing everything that I want it to be doing? So that's a great new technique. It's the first time I've tried it, and we'll see how well it works in this new book.
Good advice, Miss Cat. Good advice. When people start procrastinating, if you have the passion to write, who knows, you will be like Miss Cat Rambo. So, what does the book suggest about balance between personal ambition and family responsibility in Carpe Glitter?
Oh, it suggests that it is it is possible to feel too guilty. It is possible, I guess. Let's see. It's possible for an abuser to use family relationships against you. It is
Yes.
possible for them to make you feel guilty if you're not sort of participating in what they're doing. But it is possible to break out of that cycle through various ways, perhaps not in the way that she does it in the book, but I think there's certainly plenty of other ways to do it as well.
So, Miss Cat, what is your short term and long term goals in writing?
Oh, my short-term goals, like my short-term goal is right now to finish up this rewrite of the book that I just finished. I'm finishing basically the third draft of it. So that's my short-term goal, is just to finish that. Long term, I just want to keep writing and having a good time while I'm doing it, and in hopefully producing stories that people enjoy.
Yes, and looking forward for more award-winning piece like this. And sooner or later, for sure, cross my finger, best-selling
No, let's hope so.
books. Cross my finger, Miss Cat. So to sum up our discussion, how does the ending of the book or Carpe Glitters tie together the major themes and character arcs?
Okay. Well, the final piece of it involves a confrontation with the mother, which, and in some ways, a confrontation with the mother is a confrontation with all the family stuff that one has to deal with. Um, and it also puts an end to the question of this the objects that have come together as a result of what she's discovered, and lets them have a fate as well. And it lets our protagonist kind of walk off into the sunset looking for a good life.
Yes, have faith in everything, people. So, Miss Cat, thank you so much for producing such a award-winning piece, Carpe Glitter. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Oh, please do. Carpe Glitter, or You Sexy Thing, or Beast of Tibet if you want other fantasy.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Cat Rambo because if you support her, as I said, more award winning piece and best selling books to come. So, Miss Cat, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon. So, Miss Cat, our next episode.